So
Middle Earth picked this one.
This was Middle's pick? Okay.
He says, I believe the lyrics here are really just Lawrence language and the English translation of the language. So just focus on the English for the review. I do have access to his language dictionary. I've been wanting to do something from this band for a long time and got both Lawrence permission and Wiseblood's permission to put this up in a stream. Lawrence is, as his language implies, an interesting person who has attracted others to his band project. Okay.
Whoa. Okay.
So he's written a whole language.
So this is dude, the Tolkien. Tolkien did
that's
that.
That's what I was thinking about.
Like the Elven language and stuff. Like he completely like made it up and like.
Interesting.
He was the first one. I was like, yo, this dude like is like different. Like he's on another level. Like you know, Shakespeare's kind of like the standard or whatever, but like this dude was like somewhere else. Inventing, but I mean, Shakespeare did invent like certain terminologies and shit. Like there's things that we use like to this day that prior to Shakespeare weren't used.
Yeah.
Shout out to Revo. But this is like on a different level, like what Tolkien did. So this guy is kind of like, you know, I mean, I gotta listen to the song first before we crown this dude. But shout out to all my beautiful people. We gotta listen to the song first, but. I got a lot of respect for somebody who's like that original and puts that kind of commitment into the song. All right, guys. Nobody cares about my opinion. It's OXXOX. I don't know how to pronounce this shit, but let's try. Let's do it. And it's Linda A. I don't know how to do it. All right, let's go. Middle, help me out with the phonetic pronunciation, bro. Let's do it. Screen or whatever.
What type of music is that?
Really, really torn by this band because on lyrics on this channel, and we are going to look at the lyrics, but like it's kind of a made up language as has been previously stated. So like even though there are, official lyrics to a degree, like at some level you got to assume that the artist's intention is to kind of have you fill in your own blanks type of thing, because the language is not a language you can really like. And even like this translation, I think Middle had to do a lot of work, like to be allowed to translate it or whatever. I forgot what he said in the intro, but like the song is incredible because somebody said it was all over the place, and most of the time when somebody says a song's all over the place, it's like generally not a good thing. Right? Like, this shit's all over the place.
It was a bunch of transitions.
But like this one was a bunch of transitions. Not many of them like flowed into each other, and most of the time when that happens, I'm like, oh, I don't like it, because I'm like, all you did was basically copy and paste a bunch of parts that you thought were good, because every guitarist knows this. There's like some part where you're like, oh my god, this is going to change metal forever. And so like you were completely committed to that, section or whatnot. Then you go to brand practice and they're like, yeah, bro, like maybe we should tweak it here, or maybe we do this, we do that. And by the end of it, like it's clear that the band doesn't really think that the thing is as good as you think it is. And I think like there's like these rash of these like individual bands, like they're just they're there by themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like they do everything, they do the drum programming, they do everything. And it's like, yo, man, like what's going on? But like if you want complete creative control, you gotta be able to do that. But at the same time, like this song is never gonna be on the. You know what I'm saying? It's never gonna be in a radio or whatever. But I think like you're not meant to. And it's crazy because like we've talked about this a few times. Like, I'll listen to a song or whatever, Cradle of Filth or whatever, and I'm just gonna replace the words, man. It's like I like the music. I'm just not gonna say all that crazy shit about Jesus. All the crazy shit Danny Phelps says about Jesus, I just use the devil. And then all the shit he says about the devil, I just use about Jesus, and like I have my own kind of
everything turns into a worship song.
Yeah, because it's like, to me, it's like the minute that you externalize the song, it's no longer yours. It's yours property-wise, it's yours from the perspective of capitalism, but now I am experiencing this song. But that's my experience. So how I experience a song belongs to me. So the minute that you play a song out loud, you give it away, in a sense. And so
that's interesting.
This is kind of like the next logical step, right? Because like, look, if the music means something specific to me, but can also mean something specific to you that are diametrically opposed, then the lyrics can be the same thing. So the music, the musicianship, the drum notes don't have a specific phrase, although honestly, like when you're putting notes and chords together, it's called phrasing in guitar. It's literally called phrasing. Right. So there is a sort of logos type of effect to a degree, but I mean, I just think it's a very challenging form of art to say, you're not going to get the specifics of what I'm saying, but you're going to get the essence of what I'm saying. And if you ingest the essence of what I'm saying, it's because you've been through X, Y, Z, and you know. So that was a very like, I understand. I'm sure people like, oh, this is a gimmicky band, blah blah blah. But I really felt like that was a risky thing to do, man.
Is it a one band?
I feel like he said it was a one-man band, and then like toward like the end or after we got kind of a little bit bigger, like obviously everybody wanted to kind of jump on the train type of thing. It is Gnostic or Gnostic adjacent. Well, yeah, like there is definitely a sense of Docetism here. If you look, it says we live in our prisons. Our spirits wrestle, our energies are exploited, consequence of hell. So there's this thing called Docetism or docetic Gnosticism, where they would say that Jesus only appeared or only seemed to have been crucified because They believed that physical matter was evil, and the demiurge created physical matter because he was an idiot, basically, which is the Yahweh of the Old Testament. He's they're saying like all these crazy blasphemous things about. And so the Gnostics were kind of like had this idea that to this day, like it's even in Christianity, that the body is some sort of trap, some sort of terrible trap that that your spirit has to be freed from, instead of the vehicle in which your spirit expresses itself on this platform. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of ways to say that the body or matter isn't fundamental without completely throwing out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah.
And I think, like, we talk about this a lot. We talk about nuance and things like that. Like, that's where people like go off, is like they throw out the baby with the bathwater. And, a person could say, like, this is a pretty extreme song because you don't have, like, proper lyrics.
Yeah.
Because, like, you see all this English at the bottom, like, a lot of that is just middle, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Our prisons are made of flesh. Again, this is the Gnosticism. Like, your spirit, your prison is body. It's made of flesh. We experience the good, the bad, the suffering in bodies that die, consequence of hell. We love our prisons. Our spirits wrestle. Our energies are exploited, consequence of hell. The tears of Babylon, so many tears. The tears of Babylon, so many tears. I forgot they were connected to Igor. I don't know who Igor is. Help me out with Igor. Free to make wrong choices. Look at this. Look at this. We have not chosen to fall down here below. It was a manipulation. We went on free to make the wrong choices.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So that line is a pretty crazy line.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you're free to make the wrong choice. Most of the time when people say free, they say a choice.
Yep.
Because A is an indefinite article.
Yeah.
Well, it could be, like, if I say, hey, I want to drive a car from the lot, and there's 100 cars. It could have been any one of those 100.
Right.
But if I say the car, then we're only talking about one car. Mm-hmm. So if you look at this, it's like, that's what's being opened up here.
Yeah.
It's like you're kind of entering into that sort of Gnostic idea of the world and all that. It's pretty crazy stuff. Igor is a French avant-garde. Yeah, I felt like, is this
why is he talking about freedom to make wrong choices?
Oh,
like,
well,
what?
Right, so you say freedom to make a choice?
Yeah.
But when he says freedom to make wrong choices,
yep.
But he puts a definite article. Freedom to make the wrong choices.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it's like you have freedom, but the freedom only serves to make it so that you're guaranteed to make the wrong choice. And then, of course, the next question is, because most of us are not compatibilists relative to our theory on the will, people say, well, if that's true, then he wasn't really free and all the rest of it. Right? And so, he talks about the nature of the will and things of that nature. I just thought the song was really challenging in the first couple minutes, because it's like you're so used to waiting for, and they were so tight musically, you're so used to waiting for that intro and the lyrics and the boom, and he's gonna jump up and down and all that shit, and it went in a completely different direction, man. I thought it was pretty crazy. The tears of Babylon, so many tears. We have not chosen to fall down here below. It was a manipulation. We went on, free to make their own choices. Tears. The paradise imprisoned by our silly egos. My heart is exasperated. Now that I agree with. I don't think that your body is a prison. Like, your body's not a prison. Like, you don't need to be set free from your body. Like, your body is the vehicle in which you express your soul and your spirit on this platform. But it is not everything.
And in Christian theology, when you die, I used to think that your body kind of just like went into the ground, and then you got like this sort of spiritual body. Yeah. But you do in a way, but it's actually your own body renewed. So it's like a resurrection, like Christ died on the cross and rose from the dead, and then he conquered death. Well, the same thing happens in Christian theology. When you die, if you die with Christ, you will be raised again with him. So there is a resurrection for the believers.
Well, there's also a resurrection for the unjust in Daniel 12.
Right. Yes. Right.
It says, many in the dust of the, as Daniel says, many in the dust of the earth will arise. Some to,
I know, everlasting
torment. The righteous will shine like the stars of heaven in the kingdom of the Father. And then it says, in the wicked will like lie down in torment or whatever. Yeah, it was a pretty
to their destruction. I don't know. It
says
it's not good. We can tell you that.
Shame. It says. The wicked are risen to shame and everlasting contempt.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the believers are raised in glory to reflect their forerunner Christ, and then those who do not believe are raised in shame to reflect their forerunner Shaitan. You know.
Yep.
So what was going on with you? Like why'd you bring that up? Like, what was going on?
Well, because we were talking about getting you talked about getting rid of the body and we're not trying to escape our body and stuff.
Right.
And so it's the idea that you're never going to leave your body. Like even when you die, it's like you're going to get that body renewed. So you're still gonna there's no escape from that. It's just like you're just going to a different place, but there's no big separation from it. So the
Sean says the Bible is metal. Hell yeah, bro.
It's extremely. You could that would be such a fun study to just the 10 most metal verses in the Bible, top 10. or you could be really controversial and be like, Jesus is metal as fuck. Top 10 verses.
Oh my gosh.
We'd be like, what?
And have one of those. You have those.
Yeah.
You brood of vipers.
Yep. Vipers. Right.
Okay, so he says, the paradise imprisoned by our silly egos. Okay, that's the one I wanted to talk about, right there. The paradise imprisoned by our silly egos. So it's like
the paradise.
That I think is true. I do believe that a lot of us are denied paradise, literally and figuratively, because of our egos. As a matter of fact, obviously, if you translate ego as pride or human pride or whatever, we all know it's 7 deadly sins, usually spoken upon as a root cause of all other sins, right? Mm-hmm. So, I get it. Vin and Sori are going to make an album for every book in the Bible that may happen.
That would be crazy.
May actually happen. How did you know?
Wait, you just read it was a manipulation. No, what was the one you just read?
You said that paradise imprisoned by our silly egos.
The ego thing. Yeah, there's so much stuff that's done on the altar that's sacrificed on the altar of ego. Sometimes you'll tell me some political thing that's going on or something in sports or something. It just seems like a lot of the really horrible things that happen. You can whittle it down to somebody's ego.
Yeah, 100. Shout out to Bill Belichick.
Shout out to you. Probably coming for a fall in a hot
nobody wants to hire Bill Belichick after he's won 6 world titles and everybody called him the GOAT. You know why? Because he was in football paradise with that big homie Tom Brady.
Yep.
Then he decided.
And he's old school.
Then he decided to turn against the God. You saw what happened?
Oh no!
You saw what happened? He got struck down with furious anger. And then you will know that Tom Brady is a GOAT.
Oh my God.
That was half blasphemous. If you
I know.
If you understood those references, there's a little bit of Tarantino, a little bit of Jeremiah. Yeah. And so what was going on with you for the imprisoned by our silly egos?
Well, that's been the story of my life. You'd think if you watched Vinny and I, that Vinny has the biggest ego, and that I probably don't. I don't know. Depends on, I guess, how you look at it. But I have a giant ego, and that it gets in the way of a lot of things. And so I'm trying to make that adjustment so that way things don't things will affect you more than they need to if your ego is too big. So some people somebody can't tell them that they're wrong. They can't make any sort of corrections. Everything is a problem. And so obviously we don't want to be those types of people, but just it's just funny because when you know something, nobody's going to change your mind on it. It. But at the same time, you're very open to being shown. We had an issue with our SUV, the oil. It was spewing out everywhere. It was actually super dangerous. Could have lit us all on fire. We didn't know. Anyway, we got it repaired. But prior to getting it repaired, when we drove in, you have to straddle that thing and go over it when you're driving in.
Yeah.
You didn't know anything about it. And I'm always surprised, even though, we've been together for 7 years, I'm still surprised when you don't activate your ego in those situations to make it more than you do. You'll just be I don't know anything about this. I'm I don't know anything about this. So then like these other guys are telling you how it is and whatever. And like I've been around, different people where that was such a problem that they could never admit that they would break things because they couldn't admit they didn't know what they were doing.
Really? Break it?
Yeah, they were putting in a sound system in somebody else's vehicle instead of saying, I don't know shit about it. Like you can't, but the ego just does have a way of like just ruining things, and yeah, I just.
Well, I mean, everybody talks about like if you think about paradise, your mind automatically goes to like this, garden, heaven, angels, whatever. And like obviously I believe in that shit. But like if you were to say your paradise is your utopic existence, right? I don't even know if utopic is a word. But utopia, whatever.
I like it.
Utopia is a made up word, so utopic, I don't know. But I mean all words are made up words at the end of it except for one. There's one word that's not a made up word, been there forever, but that's a different story.
Oh man. Nice.
You can't communicate.
John 1.
Seduct.
Okay,
so like you got this like utopian, like everybody has it. So if you're a metalhead, you have it. If you're a left winger, you have it. If you're a right winger, you have it. If you're a whatever you label yourself, now I'm into the cartels. And like this kid, he's 16 years old, and he's gangbanging in Compton, California, and like shit's getting heavy. His friends are dying, so he's like. He's 16, and what does he know? He's like, I'm gonna go to Mexico. I'm gonna go to Mexico and live a better life. So this dude went to Mexico into the loving arms of the cartel. It's like one of those out of the frying pan into the fire situation. But he had this sort of utopian, like, yo, thanks for the help, by the way, Archero. He had this like,
I don't know what you did, but thanks, Archero.
Utopian because I said utopic. But it's utopia. I was like, I don't think it is. And then the Archero was right there with the.
Oh.
So he got straight out of Compton. Yeah, man. And it was like, it was tough watching because you understand, like, this 16-year-old kid, God bless him, but there's no fucking way. I know that Compton, California is bad, especially at the time that this kid was coming up. But this kid went into Mexico, into the loving arms of the cartel while the Sinaloa gang was like, basically fracturing in an internal fratricidal war with one another. And like, that's, but he thought, I'm going to get away from this. I'm going to get all these dudes killing my friends, blah, blah, blah. I don't have to take a gun to school. He was stressing because he had to take a gun to school. He ended up becoming a Sicario and he was taking guns to school again. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, and it's crazy because a lot of it, if you really look at it, if you trace this kid's story, like a lot of it was ego. Because like what happened is they hurt his friend and you know how that shit goes. Somebody hurt your friend and you're 15 years old. You're not developed. Your brain isn't fully, like your decision-making mechanisms aren't matured until you're 26. I
always think it's 24.
So it's like if Vaughn would have had one more year, he would have made it. You know what I'm saying? But he was like right there at 26.
I don't know.
He was getting better because he didn't shoot him. I've seen videos where he just goes up and shoot people. He didn't do that. He just went two-pieced him. Like, I think he was like...
Transitioning?
He was transitioning. Like, I'm just going to beat this kid up. I don't need to shoot him. I don't need to drill. And then the one time he decides he doesn't need to shoot somebody, he gets killed. So that's all ego. And it's like, it's one of those like, it's almost like one of those like Achilles heel type of things. Where like, you love the guy in the movie, you love the guy in the show, but he's got this one personality trait, and it just, he can't let it go, and it undoes him, right? And like with a lot of us, man, it's the ego. Like with a lot of people, it's a girl, or it's a this, or it's a that, but dude, with most of us, bro, it's your ego. Like you lost that relationship because your ego. You lost that job because of your ego. And you're not going to admit that shit because of your ego, and then you're not going to learn the lesson because of your ego, and then you're going to punish yourself and everybody around you because of your ego. Yeah. Everything is relative to your ego because you can't admit that you're wrong, or you can't admit that you made a mistake, or whatever it is, man. I've seen that shit happen with parents and kids and parents, all types of shit. Like we were sitting here observing a situation. It's like, bro, just say I'm sorry.
That's it. Dude.
all you gotta do is say you're sorry. Like, it's not gonna make, it wouldn't have made everything better as far as like that guy's definition of what the utopia is.
Yeah.
But it definitely would not have put him in the hell that he's in right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, like, it's a zero-sum game. People are like, why is God only heaven or hell? Why isn't there some middle ground? It's like, do you have a middle ground? Because a lot of us, if you don't get your utopian existence, whatever you think is going to make you happy, you, quote, settle. So then you end up going from utopia heaven to settle hell. And you're settling for hell. Like your life right now, you're settling for hell. Some of you guys are like mega talented, but you're like, I've been turned down too many times. I'm not going to do it again. But you're a genius. But your ego can't deal with the rejection. So you're going to sit there and be a commoner when you're really a genius because people haven't caught up to your genius yet. So now you're going to sit there and be upset because your ego is wounded. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of shit where it's like, yo, that person could have really done some shit, or that person didn't have to lose that relationship, or you didn't have to lose that job. Like, all you had to do was say whatever.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why it's like, we had the conversation about ego, and it was like, I'm still not sure because, like, in my mind, like I said, like, I'm goal oriented. Mm-hmm. So if I'm not going to let my, quote, ego get in the way of my goal, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, well, what's under the root of your goal? Like, it's impossible to have a goal without an ego. Mm-hmm. You say, my goals. The minute you say my, that's a possessive pronoun.
Yeah, but I think that when somebody has too big of an ego, there isn't necessarily a goal. The whole goal is ego. Like, how can I protect my ego? How can I bolster my ego? How can I make myself feel this or that? Like, I don't think that there is a whole lot of goal outside of that.
Look at Trump. Big egos are dangerous to our country.
You don't say. January 6th.
But and then there's Ian completely. I love it. But yeah, man. Like, I mean, Trump is right, and obviously Trump is an easy foil. Like, oh, ego. But like at the end of the day, man, Trump is really just a manifestation of our collective consciousness relative to the ego. Trump is like almost like a satire.
Yeah, I was
for
say the
all Americans.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at Trump and you see nothing in yourself, then you're out of here, bro. Like, there's a reason dude was famous.
Yep.
And I'm not talking about, like, as a president. I'm like, you're fired. We all love the show. Well, what was he saying? You're fired. We would watch Celebrity Apprentice, and all of us love the fact that you had these multimillionaires and these actors who were being fired by Trump. Gosh. Like, what's going on there in the heart of American people?
Yeah.
Like, why did we want to see that? You see what I'm saying? It's like, oh, this is Hollywood person that we kind of worship, but we're also jealous of whatever we worship because we want to be God. And so it's like, now you got another God that showed up and said, and put that other God down to size. And you're like, yes, now you're just like us. And that's what the king said in Isaiah. Uh-huh. When the king of Tyre went down to Sheol, and as he was descending down into hell, all the other kings, it said the shades of Shadim. That's such a cool word. Like, that's a middle word, man. Shadim.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to do that. I'm probably going to do like a, shout out to the Bible boogers. We're going to do like a top 5 metal phrases in the Bible. Shadim being one of them.
And it means what?
It's basically like the, those things, I don't know what they call them in the Lord of the Rings, like those wraiths. I think it was called a wraith. They had the mask, but there was nothing inside of them.
Yeah, there was like
that's basically the idea. It was the kings of the old, but they were, and so as the king of Tyre is descending into Sheol, or to hell, as we would say, the kings look up at him and they say, oh, you have become as weak as we. That was the phrase they used. You have become as weak as we. Mm-hmm. And it says, all those who are kings and known as great things in the earth. It says, Sheol looks down on you. Worms will be your covering, all this stuff in Isaiah, talking about like the downfall of the king of Tyre.
Yep.
And when he goes down, because this guy was like high on his ego, but he goes down, and all the other kings and all the other people that were great, that were Alexander, all these crazy people, you become as weak as we. King Tyre, King Vaughn, King Vin, really, Trump is the manifestation of the collective ego of all of Americans. And like the quicker we learn that, the quicker we'll understand why he's an important figure in our country. Now, whether on a practical level, what he's gonna do or not do politically, I don't know. All I'm saying is, if we don't recognize that, we're never gonna understand the point of the phenomena. But we have so much ego that we never want to admit that there may be something in the people we hate and judge that is reflective of us. And I think Freud took it a little bit far with the idea of projection, or maybe people misinterpret Freud, where he says, anytime you're upset, or people think anytime you're upset about somebody, it's because you're doing it yourself, it's just projection. That is an exaggeration of what Freud was trying to communicate. I'm no fan of Freud, but it's like, if you hate people who hurt children, that's not because you're projecting your own desire for children. That's not what that means. It means that you love children and you hate people that hurt them. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're projecting. But I do think with Trump that Trump functions as a sort of psychic mirror, and I think that disturbs a lot of us because a lot of us want to believe we're better than what we actually are. So that's what this song meant to me. It was a very challenging song, especially when you talk about the ego, because the ego is a funny thing. It's the only thing that exists the minute that it's denied. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
I do think also that like the entire zeitgeist or the like all the platforms would be changed if people's egos were smaller, because there's times where we say something because we believe it was the truth, and then you realize that you're wrong.
Stop the presses. I plan on having a Beatles tune next. Imperishable Flame stream. Stay tuned. I believe that's happening on 2/16, dear listener.
I thought it was 2/19.
Or 2/19. Sorry, 2/16, 2/19. Go ahead.
Yeah, so because our ego is big, when we realize that we've said something wrong, we don't correct it publicly like when we made our original statement. So I think that if everybody like could just squash the ego and we were like really goal oriented as in truth seekers, then if we misquoted something or we said something wrong or we learned something different, and then we were all like publicly like, if that was like the big thing that was like exalted or like people wanted, was that you got to the truth, so you accomplished the goal. It doesn't matter if you were wrong. It's the fact that you came around and said, no, actually this is what's right. Then stuff could change as a whole. Like we wouldn't keep drowning in all of this. There's so much falsehood out there, and it's like, there's so much. You're like good at research. I'm still like not really sure where to get my information from, and sometimes when I'm looking something up, I'm like, is this a lie? Like, is this website a lie? Or you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like there's just a lot that's out there. And again, like, I think that if we could just get ego out of the way, we could really progress as a people, as a nation, as a world. If we were all, the goal, the mission was truth rather than feeling good and right and being on top because you knew what the information was. But then when you're wrong, you can't come out and say it. And I think that goes for like every platform that we're a part of. So like, maybe you're on Facebook and YouTube all the time and you're constantly posting comments all over the place. Like slow down and pay attention. You know what I mean? Like I have something today that like I was talking to you about on Facebook that I'm going to circle back around and I'm going to fix that because I'm not like you where it's like right off, like I don't recognize it necessarily right away, but when I do recognize it, I do want to go back and make those changes.
I mean, I didn't recognize it right away either. Me and Middle had a beef like 3 years ago. Well, Middle had no beef with me. I was just crazy.
Well, that's true. You've done some things and people are like, yo.
Well, yeah. Because now it's like you're a public figure. People, people have watched your videos and shit like that. Like, you really, especially if you're a Christian, I mean, forget the ego thing. Like, if you really think you're going to see Jesus Christ, and he's going to be like, yeah, you went after your older brother in front of millions of people, and, people saw that over and over again, and you never went and squared that circle, bro. You just kept shit moving. And, it's the internet. People tend to like, oh, it's the internet. I'm like, and the Lord's like, what the hell does that have to do with anything? What do you mean? What do you mean it's the internet? What does that mean? We come up with all these weird things. It's like, it's the internet. Like all these ridiculous, stupid justifications. Like, no. Like Literally, dude, you were one. See, here's the thing, like about like ego and me. Oh, you admit that you were wrong. Like people think it's a big deal. It's like the thing is like, here's the thing. When I'm wrong on something, I am usually completely wrong. It's like usually like, whoa, dude, you're either in a bad like mood or whatever, or like your mind is on this track because I get obsessive about shit. Trust me, you're gonna hear about the cartel all night, I'm sure. But like you get obsessed about like people could just not like him, he's on his shit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and so it's like it's kind of like deceptive, like, oh, he corrects himself and he's wrong, like, oh, and it's like you said 2 + 2 is 58,000, bro. Like,
yeah, but there's lots.
It's not really like, you know what I'm saying? It's not really a humble thing to say. I said 2 + 2 was 58,000, and 2 + 2 is really 4. Like I was fucking off. Like that's not. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
at least I got some better.
Revo, don't misunderstand me. I don't think that we should remain silent. I think that our voices should be heard, especially if you're like speaking truth into the zeitgeist. I think that we should be careful or conscious of what I don't think we should push so much that we can't even keep track of what we've been saying, so we can't go back and correct stuff if we've said something wrong or whatever. That's what I'm saying. Like I definitely think that, voices of people that are rational, that are, again, truth seekers, like I think those voices do need to be heard. I don't think that we should remain silent because there's so much talking out there. I just think that we need to be conscious of what we're doing and pay attention. Like it's not just decisions in a video game. Like comment sections affect people. There's a lot of power in the written word. And when people go through comment sections and they're reading those things, they are influenced. So I think it's important that we all understand that we're influencers, and we have to, it's a tool, and we can use it for good or we can use it for evil. So,
I don't think there's anything more that I've seen Shaitan use than a comment section on YouTube. They're worse in the videos. And it's not even. It's
okay,
not.
Reba, I misunderstand you.
It's not even close. It's not even close to how much damage.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the song. It was really because the lyrics weren't so spelled out. It kind of made me, like, when I saw the translation, like, pay extra attention to what was being said. And so, yeah, man, this is a 9.8 for me.
It was an 8.9 for me.
Now, what was it? Was it the inability to have discernible words, or what?
No, I was actually cool with that idea because, I mean, I'm a Christian. I believe in the gift of tongues and stuff like that. So I don't think that that's what he was using.
Yeah, I thought that angle was gonna come up with you, but you.
Yeah, well, yeah, I didn't even think to start talking about that. But yeah, I'm totally good with that because, I mean, I like to do music like that sometimes when I'm on my own. So I'm like, maybe this is some nonsensical language, or maybe he tapped into a language and he doesn't even realize what he tapped into.
100%.
And I thought, yeah, there's certain phrases that, like, when I'm praying, I don't necessarily know what they mean. Like in my spirit, I know like the direction of what it is. Like it's like knowing something without knowing the words that go along with it. Yeah. But I was thinking, wow, that would be really crazy to like have your language that you use in like that phrase. There's a certain phrase I have in my head, like to have like a bunch of people on the chorus, like on that phrase. Cause I'm like, that phrase is something special, something significant. So like to have a crowd be on that. But then I'm like, is that something that's too personal that shouldn't be, but anyway, so it was an interesting thought process that I kind of went on based off of that. I also think that.
Yeah, I know people that like swim around that topic.
Oh, speaking in tongues?
Will not explicitly tell people because like it's a, it's a sacred thing. And it becomes like this
big focus and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally understand that, but I never felt like that. I always felt like that I was like partially an evangelist for it because it was such a game changer in my prayer life that, it says that sometimes we don't even know the words that we should be saying. Like sometimes you're going through something or someone else is going through something and you're trying to pray for them and you're like trying to pray and it just doesn't really seem like, and then you start using that special prayer language and it like really like, you can tell like in the spirit, like something's moving something immovable is now being moved, and you didn't really, fully grasp it like yourself physically, but spiritually.
Something got knocked loose.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm completely good with it. I thought it was interesting. And if it's not that, I actually thought with his, I wonder if it's like, Ben's thing, like noises that want to be heard, songs that want to be heard. Like, was this a language that wanted to be heard? Did he come up with it in his own mind and like put syllables together to create it, or how did he get that? What did he do?
The man's entire life was validated by that one question.
Yeah, you know what? I never liked
his
Ben
contribution.
Webb,
his contribution to humanity was complete. Just with that one question. Shout out to Ben Webb. He's going to heaven. I already said it. What's the line between ego and earning something? It's understanding that by yourself, the only thing you've ever earned from God is hell, and really believe that. And if you really believe that, then you never have to worry about that ever.
Yeah, again. I agree with that.
Some of us, I know my brother. Like he's a very sweet guy. He's very sweet and kind. He's gonna say, "No, I have problems. I have sins." He's a sweet guy. I could say that. You have to read your Bible and believe that. The only thing you've ever earned from God is hell. So if you truly believe that, then you'll never strut around again like you spiked the football.
Well, and it's not just that. It's also understanding that every good and perfect gift comes down from God and is given to us by the Father of lights. So there's so many things in our lives that we either express or we have or we do like that are gifts from God. So when you recognize that those are from God, then the ego doesn't come up because you're like, oh, wow, like, thank you, God, for like helping me with this or that thing. Like, it's not like, yeah, look at me. So I think that also is like a point of humility, is recognizing that, just because I can do something that you can't do doesn't mean that I'm better than you, but it just means that I've been graced in a certain area more than you've been graced in that area. And then there's a certain responsibility that comes with it, and a bit of gratefulness. So,
all right, but I believe I'm better than you.
Well, we know that you believe that you're better than me, but we know that I am better than you.
I'm fucking with you. So. Okay, guys, that was song number 1. A little bit long, but I mean, come on, guys.
James, as soon as somebody requests that song, those parts, we are 1,000%. I love her music. Okay,
Lorna Shore.
Yeah. What?
I'm not even gonna answer that question, bro.
Did I get mixed up with someone else?
I love Lorna Shore.
That was the
I love her. I love her. I love all. Forgive all. Okay, guys. Commercial break. We shall return. Let me see if I got these scene windows corrected. We'll be back on the other side of the break. There. Listen, Vin out.
Sori out.
Go.